Well, welcome to Pillow Talk Unplugged, guys.
This is Edgar.
I'm Bridgetta.
And we have a special episode for you today. You can see I'm wearing my very official white coat and glasses, which means that we're in science mode today. So,
Very official. Yeah. Mr. Sexy Scientist over here. And I think I'm being schooled today.
You are being schooled. You're being schooled in the statistics of online dating.
Ooh.
Yeah, because we kind of hit that a little bit in the first episode.
Yep.
And so we thought it would be interesting to dive a little deeper into this. And we're actually going to make this a fun game. So this episode is going to be a statistics challenge for you.
Oh, uh-oh.
And the way we're going to do this is it's called the over-under for all of those that gamble on sports. You know what that is. But for those of you that don't, over-under is basically a game where there's a particular number that represents, in this case, a statistic related to online dating. And Bridgetta will have to guess, is the real number either over or under that? And then we'll tell you what the real number actually is, and we'll talk a little bit about, you know, all the fun stuff that goes along with that.
I love it. And I love, I shouldn't say I love gambling, but I really do love betting on NFL games.
Well, it's legal in Florida, so you're allowed to say that.
Okay, good.
Because it is legal in Florida.
Sweet.
So this is completely compliant. And we'll do, let's say, if Bridgetta gets 7 or more of these right, she wins a prize.
Ooh. Well, now what kind of prize am I going to win?
What kind of prize do you want to win?
This could be good. Let me think about that one.
Okay.
What's on the table?
Anything.
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 Anything is on the table.
That is physically achievable. I mean, you can't say you're going to fly to the moon because I don't know Elon like that. So.
Dang. All right. Let me see what I can come up with. Or you guys can let us know what you think that I should come up with. I like that idea.
You pick the prize that Bridgetta gets to win. I love that.
Yeah.
We'll work with that. All right.
Okay.
So first you have to win it first.
This is true.
That's the real issue. We'll see if you get these.
I
set the bar at 7. That might be a little high, but I think you can do it. I believe in you.
Okay.
All right. So all these statistics have been thoroughly researched by yours truly. And they come from various resources like Pew Research, Statista, Tinder's own internal research. So these are real numbers, just to let you know.
Okay.
I did not make them up, is what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. All right. So the first one is just this kind of an easy one, or one to ease us into this. Percentage of adults who have used a dating app. So the over-under number here is 25%. So you think it's more than that or less than that?
More.
Very good.
All right.
Okay, so 1 for 1. Very good.
Woo!
What do you think? So that was really good. What number would you pick? Like, what do you think is a ballpark number?
I mean,
you don't have to get this part right. This is just for entertainment.
35, 37%?
Pretty close. Yeah, so the actual number is 30%.
Okay.
So basically 1 out of 3 adults have used a dating app.
That makes sense.
Which makes sense. And I, to your point, I would have thought that it actually would be higher because it's not saying that someone is constantly using the app. It's have you ever used it? And I feel like most people I know have been on the app at least once. Right?
Exactly.
And even when you talk, there's apps for older adults, right? There's Snapchat for younger kids. I guess that counts as a dating app, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
But in my mind, when I saw that, I thought that was actually lower than I expected. I thought it was like half.
Does that include Snapchat?
No, it doesn't include Snapchat.
Okay, because I'm like,
Yeah, I mean, it's adults, so it's 18 and over.
Yeah, and then I'm curious.
I think nobody 18 and over uses Snapchat.
Yeah, probably not. Although it's funny because there was this person who actually asked me to use it recently. And I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Isn't Snapchat for like the scandalous ones who want things to just pop up and disappear, or for
basically,
kids?
Yeah. And I have used Snapchat too, and I hate it because it's so user intuitive. Like I build tech stuff for a living, and I can't figure some of this stuff out. It's like you have to hold and then press and then swipe here to just like see the message. I'm like, I do not have time for that.
Yeah, no. And I guess I'm curious too, and maybe this is one of your stats on there, is, okay, So when I was younger, this is so wrong, but I was probably like, I don't know, 15, 16. And it's like, this is back in the newspaper days, guys. So it was like, they have their dating websites or dating, in the classifieds, right? And I remember actually.
Personal ads, that's what they were called.
Personal ads, you're right.
Yes.
And I remember, this is so bad, but this is just who I am. I was bored. I was with a bunch of girlfriends and we decided to call the ads. And we called them, and I think we did like what was that when you block your number, like *67 or something? I don't know, whatever it was. Right. Yeah. And it was like the rotary phone, and we did that. And I remember calling and being like, "Hi, is Craig there? This is Jenny," and whatever it would be in this like sexy voice, and like playing with them and just seeing how far I could go along with it. Until one day that we did it, and I remember my mom came down and was like, "What the hell is going on?" Because it got like really heated. Yeah. I was like 15, like I don't know what to say to some of this. And my mom's like, "What are you doing? Who are you talking to?" Like, oh shit, click. But yeah, those were, and now I look back and I'm like, what a little shithead I was, like.
Poor people were putting themselves out there in the newspaper. I mean, that probably would take guts to put.
Think about it.
Compared to an online dating app, which is sort of a normal thing now, but to actually write like I'm seeking love in the newspaper and then put
I remember
age and preferences and.
Yeah. And I remember reading it being like, 58, white seeking black or male seeking woman or even woman seeking woman, whatever it would be. I remember reading them all and being like so intrigued by it, and just like, oh, and when one time we were like, let's put one in there and see what happens for one of our girlfriends. We didn't do it, but it would have been really funny.
Speaking of seeking and finding.
Yeah.
How many out of 10, let's say.
Okay.
Married or living with partners. So basically means like serious relationship, right? Either you got married or maybe you're not married, but you're living with your partner in a serious relationship. Found that person online, on an online dating app. So the over-under in this one is 2. So 2 out of 10 people have found their significant mate online.
So it has to be over or under. It can't be like, it's 2.
That's a great point. Yes, I guess for the fairness of the rule, I have to admit to that. That's making it a little bit easier because it's eliminating 2 as a number. So it's either 1 or 3 and above.
Okay. Yeah, because I feel like it's like 2. Like I don't feel like it's not, but maybe it is over. It's got to be over. It can't be less.
It is less.
Oh,
yeah, it's actually
really?
only 1 out of 10.
Interesting.
And I thought that was interesting too because. If 30% of people have used apps, but only 1 in 10, so 10%, have found a significant partnership through the apps, that's sort of telling you a little bit about that, right? Like it's suggesting that that's maybe not where people are finding their serious mates.
Yeah.
And in my experience, I kind of feel like that's probably fairly accurate. Like, I feel like you tend to meet more serious people in sort of social circles that you're interested in. And now there's people in running clubs or, whatever. In Spain, we talked about that offline, but the pineapple thing, which we got to talk about that separately, either now or later, but it's
bring it up.
Hilarious.
You brought it up. Let's go into it.
So to the point of how do you find, right? If only 1 in 10 people find their serious match online, what are some other options? And I saw this on Instagram actually the other day. So the post basically said that pineapples are revolutionizing the dating game in Spain. So I'm like, I got to see this. I mean, this is interesting.
What? So
the way it works is singles of any age, but it tends to be more kind of younger, 20s, 30s, I would say 40s, are going to a specific type of store, grocery store. It's like a brand of grocery store. Think of like Publix in Florida, like one that's kind of everywhere. And they're putting a pineapple upside down in the shopping cart. And then they're going to the wine and alcohol aisle because, obviously that's where a date should start, apparently.
Clearly.
And then they are bumping into other people that they want to meet. So that's kind of your swiping.
Okay.
Like you see somebody with a pineapple upside down and you have one too, and you kind of gently hit them with the shopping cart and they know what's up. So it's a way, remember we were talking about the gym, like how do you approach someone if they might not want to be talked to? In this case, they got the upside down pineapple, that's
Fair game.
It's fair game.
really
And the
love
other
this.
little thing that was very interesting is there's also like a little twist to it where you can indicate what type of relationship you're looking for, whether it's something short-term or long-term. This I thought was really genius. So long-term means you have a bag of lentils, like dried lentils in your shopping cart, because lentils will last forever in the pantry.
Oh,
I don't really eat lentils or cook
I don't
with them,
eat
but
lentils
they do.
either, but-
Apparently last forever. On the other hand, if you have lettuce, which kind of goes bad really quickly, or I would have picked avocado, because that goes like guacamole. Tomorrow it's gone. It's out of my house tomorrow morning. So guacamole or in their case, lettuce means you're looking for something short because it's not meant to last. So that was cool. And apparently it's like a big trend that's really picking up, and people are, now again, are they finding this lentil love that's forever, or is it the same stats as the dating app?
I want to know the statistics now.
Well, I wanted to go to Spain and just check it out for myself. So.
I think that would be amazing.
I think we need
when you do.
Well, I think we should do a fact-finding official business trip for the
I like this idea.
The talk show. We're going to go to Spain and we're going to experiment and see if it works.
It would be so fun to do.
You got to practice your Spanish.
Okay, I'll catch up on that. Or Catalan.
Catalan. Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. And then maybe we come back and we bring the tread here, and then it's like, here we are in Publix or seed to table.
Could work. I mean, I was going to just start bumping into people at Publix and see what happens. And then if they're like, what the heck's going on? I'm like, oh, pineapple, you haven't heard about
Check
this?
Check it out.
Look it up. Duh.
I love it.
But yeah, so apps maybe not the place to find true love, but I was surprised.
Wow,
that was one thing that I would have expected that number to be higher.
And
it does break down by app a little bit as well, and there's certain ones that are more geared towards longer term commitments, but overall the number is just 1 out of 10.
And it makes complete sense with my whole giving up the whole app experience, because I got on there and I'm just, no to all of them, and
that's a common theme. I think a lot of people been on the apps and then they're like, oh, I'm so over it because of some of the lack of success. And let's dive into that actually. So speaking of what you were saying, swiping through and then I'm so over it. So the women have a match rate on Tinder. This is Tinder specific.
Okay.
Which basically means that someone that they swiped on, meaning you like this person,
right?
What's the chance of that person also liking you back?
Interesting.
And so the over and under on this one is 5%. So that basically means 5% of the people that you want to talk to also want to talk to you, and then you create a match.
Depends on the algorithm, I would say. Obviously, I've always been curious about that. I have to say that the majority of people that I found that I have liked me. But I'm damn good at setting up a profile.
Your rate is 100%. Yeah, we get that.
Really good at setting up profiles.
If I'm matching with this guy, he's definitely matching with me. I got this on lock.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. This is what I do for a living is, publicity, right? Nailing that profile. But then again, it also makes you think about the algorithms. Like maybe I'm seeing someone that hasn't seen me yet or whatever. Would they like me eventually? Yeah.
I hope so.
I think, but then, I don't know.
Only if they have good taste.
Only if they have good taste. True that. True that. Maybe over.
You're right. Okay. So we're at 2 for 3. And the actual number is 10%.
Okay.
Which I thought that kind of did make sense to me. I think obviously, not everyone gets such high match rates as you, but
contact me to set up your profile.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. It's auxiliary service offered by this show. I've heard that that women do get more matches in general, and then trying to think about what's a likely number. I also thought it was higher than 5%, and 10% seems right. So
that makes sense.
Most people are not going to get every match swiped back, but that's a reasonable number. And so that's going to throw us right into the fourth question, which is the same question, but for men.
Oh, okay.
So the over-under on this one is 1%.
Oh.
So 1%, just so you know, I'm going to reiterate this, means that for guys that have swiped on someone, 1% of the time, 1 out of 100 swipes, that girl will match back with them.
I would feel like that's low. I mean, I that feels really low. So is this am I agreeing?
No, it's over under. You got to pick below 1%
I feel like this is
or
a
over
trick
1%.
question.
It's not a trick question, but it's a challenging question because
if it's 1%, that's really low. I would automatically want to go above. But if you were tricking me, I'm going to say under.
Okay, you got it.
Oh, yeah.
So
Woo! Okay.
the actual number is 0.06%.
Oh, my goodness.
So that's
wow.
Yeah.
Okay, but I will say, I think why. Honestly, it's the profile setup, as I was saying. Like, there's so many photos of men that are on there like, you know, or like they're partying, or there's a girl right here and they're like cut out, but you see like, you know, like she's half the boob or whatever it is. Or there was someone like, it's my sister, or, you know, and I appreciate the ones that actually write, this is my mom, this is my sister, this is a friend, whatever. Or the
Well, it should be fairly obvious if it's their mom. Like if it's not clear, and
you never know some of them. And then, or the ones I find interesting that pose with kids, not my kid, it's my, you know, my whatever, you know. And so I'm like,
but that could be a good one. Like if somebody's, you know, intentionally trying to demonstrate like, hey, I love spending time with kids. I just don't have any of my own yet.
Yep.
That's a good way to have a picture of you with kids, but then also very important to mention that I'm not lying about not having kids.
I swear. Yeah.
Like it's.
And I will say the ones that I appreciate are good photos, you know, not sideways, not drinking, not partying, or I'm going to automatically think, okay, Playboy, like whatever, you know, unless that's what you're looking for. Great, you know, but the profiles that I liked are a variety of like a guy doing all the different things they like to do. Whether it's different sports, show all your sports. You know, if you're into cars, show a car. Like show what you like and what you do, and look at the freaking camera. Do not have sunglasses on. I can't tell you how many profiles I've seen with sunglasses on. Like why? We want to see your eyes. Exactly.
Eyes are the windows to the soul.
They
right?
are absolutely. So yeah, it
makes sense.
Yep.
The other thing that I would add to that, why that number is so low, and that one actually didn't surprise me, just from my own experience, because we talked about. It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way, right? Because we know that guys will generally have a lower match rate. So one of the things that we tend to do is rather than curating and looking through every single profile, just kind of go through like, okay, you know, good. And then when we get a match, then you actually look at the girl you match with, like, do I really want to talk to her? Which creates its own problem because then you might match with people that you didn't really want to talk to. And then, you might kind of feel bad because you're or ghosting them, or or they get the match and they're all excited, but then you don't initiate the conversation.
Yeah, I've ghosted so many. I feel bad about it because then I like go through and I'm so picky. There could be like hundreds of men, and I'm like, there's two, and then they like actually write back, and I'm like, let me look again. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
So from 100 down to 2 down to 0.
Yep. Exactly. And then then they're writing me all these, and some of the messages have been really profoundly beautiful. Or they've read my profile and they see that I'm a writer, and they write this like, I've had a few guys who wrote me poems, and I'm like, this is so sweet. I don't want to write back though, because I don't want to engage in the conversation. I should, but then I'm like just leading them on to what? No, sorry.
And that's probably fair too, right? Like if you, if you're in that situation, but from a women's point of view, one of the things that, that statistic should tell you is that if you do match with a guy and he doesn't initiate the conversation, maybe that is kind of an indication that, like most guys, he was just kind of going through and just wasn't very selective.
Right.
So, I would say like, it is what it is. Don't be frustrated by that in a sense, because that's what the numbers are showing. We do tend to do a lot of this.
Yeah, men do that.
And then do the selecting.
Men are like, oh, damn, hot. Just, especially in your kind of mood. Like, where are you? Are you drinking beers? Or are you just in a horny mood and you're like going to click on more because you're like, yeah, I just need some, whatever. Which one's it going to be? And so, typical guy.
Yeah, that's
fair.
That's just how it is.
Yeah. Right.
So, interestingly enough, in terms of the actual distribution of male versus female on the dating apps, that's actually an interesting statistic as well. And so overall, I will tell you this to start, it's about 75% male. So there's actually 3 guys for every girl on the dating apps. Something I didn't know.
Interesting.
But that also kind of feeds into that whole, there's a lot of guys, right? And so since there's kind of less women, we just go through. And then I think as a woman, you kind of, you have the ability to be more choosy because there's more.
Even more upset and depressed about it because there's like literally nobody. And then I was like, I'll open up my range of mileage. No. Yeah. It's just, maybe I'm just so damn picky. I am. I mean, maybe not. It's not just maybe. I am very particular.
We established that already.
Yep.
That's not news. So that's overall. Now in Europe, the percent of male users is less. And so the over-under I'm going to give you is 60%. So overall, across the world is 75%.
Yep.
In Europe, I'm saying 60%. What do you feel on that one?
Under.
Good job. Oh! All right. So you're four for 5 now.
Yes.
So 4 for 5, doing pretty well. You might be getting this prize. The viewer selected prize is on the table so far.
Yes. I don't know what it is, but I'm just excited to win.
50%.
Okay.
50%. Which is kind of interesting because that's a pretty balanced number, right? So I wonder, that's the one thing I couldn't really wrap my head around was why? Like, are more women using dating apps in Europe because it's more successful? I mean, obviously, demographically, the percentages in certain countries it does skew heavily male, like India and China, just in terms of the overall demographics. But the overall population, let's say in the U.S. versus Europe, it's about the same in terms of women versus men. But the number of people that are on the dating apps is different.
Interesting.
And so I'm wondering about that. Why that may be the case.
I wonder if it works more over there.
It could be. I mean, it could be that if it is more successful, then women kind of have more belief in it and they're spending more time and staying on there. So, we'll have to do that research as part of the fact-finding trip to Spain.
Love it.
So
love it.
There's two things on the agenda.
And I love it. And I want to know how many match, I mean, this is one of your things, and actually stay together. Like how many are formed relationships or marriages? Because I have actually a few friends that have met on an app and they're married and they have the best, marriage ever. And I'm like, oh,
yeah.
guys are...
Well, we know it's 1 out of 10 globally, right? But it could be higher in Europe. Because to your point, if there's a better ratio, right, of men to women, and if it's working better, that would be interesting. So we should spend a day on the street in like Madrid or Barcelona and just ask people their experience. We're from the U.S. and we'd like to know how you feel about dating apps and pineapples.
That'll be so fun.
And
pineapples.
Obviously.
We have to be there with our pineapple upside down.
Yes, we are.
Now, would you choose the lettuce or the lentils?
Well, it depends, right? Like, I think ultimately we all want the lentils.
Right.
As a person, as a human being.
What if you had both? You're like, I want the lentils, but here's also the lettuce. I'll take what I can get.
That's a good point. I mean, yes, I think you could make that argument. So it's like, look.
Yeah.
I do want that. But I think lentils, in that environment, I would probably choose lettuce.
Okay.
And then see how it goes. Like, I don't think I would experiment with pineapples and expect to find my soulmate.
Right.
But I also could maybe choose something like, I don't know, like an apple or something, like where it doesn't go bad right away, but it's not, you don't expect to keep it in your house for years on years.
Right.
So it's like, and then, but the apple could have seeds, so it could plant the seeds of a tree, you see?
Oh, see, I like
so
where
that's
you're going
my
with it.
interpretation of it. Like, I don't know if they would get that whole metaphor, but that's what I'd be going for.
We could start that trend here.
Let's enjoy the apple, and then if the seeds happen to grow, then it'll be a beautiful apple tree.
Aww.
And make more apples.
Yeah.
There you go.
Wonderful.
All right. So, kind of getting into why maybe things don't work for people. In terms of people who have experienced someone lying about their identity or been catfished. And now,
God.
This actually excludes age.
Really?
So lying about your age does not count because this is actually lying about identity. Like you're a different name, you're completely different location, job, whatever. Like just a whole
photo
different person.
Does that count? AI
no.
in your photo.
I mean, it doesn't. It's not unless you're okay. So let me rephrase it. Catfish in this case means if you're using somebody else's photo, yes.
Got it. Okay.
But if you're using an old photo of yourself, no. Because you're not lying about your identity, you're lying about
age.
Again, kind of your age, basically, right?
Which is so common, I find.
Yeah. So that's probably a very high number, I would imagine, but we didn't go into that stat.
Okay.
But this is just about lying about their identity or been catfished, which literally means like they're pretending to be someone who they're not.
Oh my God.
And now this stat didn't break down by men or women, so it's for everybody overall. And the over-under on this one is 25%. So 1 out of 4 people have been.
Jeez.
No comment. You have to make your choice.
I'm going to go under.
Wrong.
What? No way.
So it's actually 34%.
Stop it. Oh, that's disgusting.
That's crazy. And so that tells me like, okay, well, now I understand why people quit apps. This sort of thing.
Whoa.
I've had that experience.
Holy cow.
But in the context where, I'd match with someone, because again, and I look at their profile, even the profile seems pretty legit. Like there's not major red flags. And so, you just start talking, and it very quickly becomes obvious this is not either a real person. And this is actually what a lot of guys are subjected to.
I've heard this.
And what it is basically is different romance scams. I think we kind of alluded to it a little bit, but they can get very complex, right? They basically will talk to you for a long, long, long time. Like, for me, I wouldn't engage in that anyway, just with anybody, because again, like I'm not looking for pen pals. I want to meet somebody in person. So it's very easy for me to weed that out. But a lot of guys, are willing to engage in those conversations, whether it's because they're really lonely or they just enjoy the conversation with someone and look forward to meeting them. I mean, that's 90 Day Fiance and stuff like that is, obviously very popular.
Oh, boy.
But a lot of those people are, they're looking to take advantage of people. And I think it does happen more to guys, because I do feel like they're a little bit more gullible in some ways, more susceptible. Although, of course, there's Tinder Swindler, right? Was the famous case of a guy that did it to women.
Yep.
So... But I was also quite surprised by it being 1 out of 3.
I cannot,
because that seemed like a pretty high.
That's really high, and it makes me wonder too. There's actually a girl that I know in our gym who told me that she had a few bots in there, and she could tell because they were asking like, "Oh, why don't you talk about crypto and invest in this and give me this?" And I'm like, "Really? I've never had that."
Well, it's interesting because there's bots, and then there's actually real people which will have the full conversation with you, and it's just creepy. It's just like months later.
Creepy.
And I do actually know someone who's actually a dentist and was a woman and fell for that. After it was like 6 months.
Oh,
and she invested a lot of money, but only like on month 5. Oh, so she had this whole pen pal romance for 5 months.
Oh my God.
Then eventually he was like, "Oh yeah, you should invest in this thing too." And then she like lost hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Oh my God. So, and she never talked to the guy on the phone, or no voice, no even AI voice or like anything. Like she just was like, "Oh, here's my money."
I think she did talk to him on the phone. So I guess, but he wasn't the person, because it wasn't like a guy impersonating a woman or vice versa, right? Yeah. So they talked on the phone. I think they maybe even talked in terms of like video, right?
Wow.
But the point is, he wasn't the person we claimed to be. Because
wild.
He was like pretending he was some sort of successful entrepreneur, and he was
man.
Just a guy. Yeah, so be careful out there, ladies and gentlemen.
The world just gets crazier and crazier anyways,
But that's why also my philosophy has always been, I think the in-person connections are the best. Yep. And not to say to avoid the apps, but I think, and I hope people actually take this the right way, in the sense that I encourage everybody to meet as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And I think that's really valid, because it avoids wasting time. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, I mean, maybe you meet somebody that lives across the country and you have this beautiful pen pal romance and you eventually meet, but for the majority of the time you're matching with people locally. Just go out for a coffee, like make it and it's just easy, kind of low pressure, see what the vibe is. And that also avoids you dealing with people who have all the, the fake identity, or they're trying to scam you, or they're, lying about their age or their pictures, whatever. Just get it out of the way, meet in person. And I think you'll very quickly feel what the vibe is. And then, if you want to go for a second date, that's it. That's to me is the power of apps where they can be good, is to kind of quickly connect with people that are outside of your social circle, but it's not to spend a lot of time on there.
Or get your hopes up that you're finding the one really on there.
And to the point of spending time, this is where we're going to get into question number 7. Now, you're doing pretty well. You're at 4 out of 6, right?
All right. Woo!
So you actually only need 3 more.
Okay.
3 more correct out of the next 5 questions.
Let's do this.
Out of the next 4, sorry. So question number 7. Users under 30 spend an average of X hours on dating apps per week.
Ooh.
So the over-under on this is 5. So users under 30 spend an average of 5 hours on dating apps per week.
Under. No, really? People go over?
The actual number is 10.
Holy
This one really surprised.
What? Who has time for that?
I think that again leads to the burnout. right?
Wow.
Because
I mean,
this is not people that are not on the, like, they quit dating apps, they're spending zero, right?
Yeah.
These are people that are on the dating apps, they're actually spending 10 hours a week. Which is a lot. I mean, you're talking about basically 2 hours a day on weekdays or whatever. 10 divided by 7, you're like over an hour per day.
Wow.
Which is a lot.
Could this be, I mean, I guess I should have asked this. Is this just like because they're scrolling through, or are they actually engaging in conversation
messages included.
Okay.
But again, if you choose to be a pen pal for 2 hours a day, that's on you. Like,
who has time for that? Because I sure don't. I'm busy.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm not texting even my friends for 2 hours a day, right? Like,
exactly. I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
Actually, that's one of my biggest things too, is like I can't stand when I don't mind texting, but it's like I want to have a conversation. Right. Just call me. Just freaking call me. It's fine. It's way easier.
Text is great when you just have like quick question.
Quick question.
I want to share
like,
something interesting, funny, whatever, right?
Yeah.
But
to have the back and forth,
to have back and forth and have a whole conversation, the phone.
Exactly.
It's call. But that was interesting, and I really do think that contributes to the burnout, right? Like I was saying, because if you're spending 10 hours, that's almost too much.
That's way too much.
Because if you're spending that much on an activity and you're not getting significant benefit out of it,
right?
Like, I mean, look, if you're a dude and all your goal is to get laid and it's working for you, then you're probably gonna be doing that, right? But if you're actually looking for someone to be in a relationship, like spend 10 hours a week.
Like that is
if you've done that for a month and you haven't really found anybody that you want to be with, I could totally understand why people are quitting the apps.
I cannot believe 10 hours. Like I just do you have time for anything else? I mean, it's also like for your, what you were saying too, is just go out and have a coffee. You save so much time.
Exactly. Yeah. I would say my time amount was probably maybe like an hour a week.
I was thinking the same thing.
And it was fairly systematic because also I just didn't, again, I didn't want to have these long conversations. So, once a day I'd go in there, check everything real quick, boom, 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 like maybe 15, 20 minutes. And anybody that I matched with, it was quickly like, hey. And now what I would also do is I didn't want to go back into the apps, right? Like, because I feel like that's a waste of time. So I would say, hey, I would love to, quick conversation and just drop my number. And that's it. And at that point, I don't have to go back to the app and see, because at the end of the day, if you're interested, you're going to text me.
That's true. That's true.
You have my number.
Yeah.
What's the excuse? Oh, I don't like.
It is funny because there have been a couple guys who have given me their number offhand, and I'm like, I don't know if I want them to have my number yet. So I kind of like.
That's fair. But you can, that can be a situation where you then, look, at some point you might get on the app and somebody's like saying, but I don't know.
I'm a little different.
Not everybody's
scenario.
a celebrity like me.
I just want everyone to have my number. Yeah, it's like, true. Because then
that's true.
But I get it. Okay. Wow. Gosh.
All right. So
this is fun. Wow.
Yeah, it's interesting statistics.
Kind of mind blowing.
Yeah. So now this is a double number question.
Oh, okay. All right.
But I'm not gonna. Okay.
Do I get double the points?
Ooh, okay. So we can do it that way. If you get both of them right, you get double the points.
Okay. I feel like I need it now because I sunk on the last one.
You gotta catch up. All right, we'll give you that opportunity. I think that's fair. So you get 2 points if you get both right. If you get one right, you get one, and if you get zero, you just get zero. Okay. So X% of women and Y% of men swipe right every second person. Like every other, right?
Right.
So I see one person, next person, yes. No, yes, no.
Okay.
Yes, right?
Guys are going to be higher than girls for sure.
Yeah. So that's a reasonable assumption. And in fact, the over-under on this, so for women, it's 10% of women will swipe every other person. We know that's not you because you're like 1 out of 100 people. And for men, it's 50% of men will swipe every other person.
Okay. Under on women, over on the men.
Good. 2 points.
Woo!
Very well. That was good. Okay, I'm impressed. You did well. So the actual numbers are 5% of women will swipe every other person.
Okay.
That sounded about right. And men actually is 53%. So very close to that number, but you were right.
About it more.
Yeah. Woo! So not every guy is just doing this.
Right.
Which is good news because it means like they're still at least making some effort. But, if you're swiping every other person,
that's still a lot of
That's still kind of like my mentality of not wasting too much time and then looking at the match later if it happens.
Right.
Hey. Works for me. So.
Oh my.
All right, good job. So we were keeping score. We were what at?
I think I'm at 6.
I think you're at 6.
I think I'm at 6. It could be 7, but I think I'm at 6.
I think you're at 6. Yep. Well, listen, you have 4 chances basically to win in the next 2 questions. All right. So researchers found that while X% of women would send a message first, in contrast, only X% of men would. And so what that means is, remember we talked, let's say we match.
Yep.
Now, what percentage of the time would you send the message first versus?
Like never.
I would.
Unless it's Raya. There's a difference because Raya, which for those out there don't know Raya, it's a whole thing to get into. I'll write because you only have a certain amount of days and then it goes away. So I'll just write nice to connect because for me, it's also a business connection or it could be, but for anything else, I'm not writing you. Nope. That's why Bumble doesn't work for me. I'm not doing that. Nope.
Oh yeah, because you have to.
No, I'm not doing it.
Yeah. Interesting. So
I'm old school though.
So the numbers, the over under numbers is 15% of women would send a message first. In contrast, only 10% of men would. Now, notice the way that it was worded, it's implying that men send less. And we'll talk about that in a second.
That's fascinating.
We'll discuss why. But what do you think the...
Okay. This is tricky because I wouldn't have thought. Okay, so I'm going to go less on women and less on men.
Well, I have good news and bad news for you.
Oh, well, shoot.
Which one do you want first?
Go for the bad.
Yeah. So the bad news is that you were wrong on women. It's actually 21% of women would send the message first.
Okay, we're gabbers, so maybe that's it. But I am shocked. Is it because it's Bumble, though?
No, it's across all apps. But Bumble probably does help. I'm sure Bumble does help.
Yeah.
But I think there's a very specific reason for it, and I'll share it with you in a second. The good news is that this is your 7th point, so now you've won the prize.
Woo! Whatever that prize may be, I don't know.
We'll figure it out.
Yes.
That is to be determined. We'll announce the prize.
Okay.
Next time. We should put a poll.
Yeah, we could do a poll, and then I feel like we take a bunch of choices.
Yeah.
And we can also put them in. Yeah, I like this.
Yeah. Write-ins can be dangerous, but I like the danger of the write-in.
Dun,
I think that's
dun,
going to make things interesting.
It will, definitely.
It'll make things interesting for sure. So...
And in case you don't know, it's pillowtalkunplugged.com.
Oh, yeah.
And on Instagram. Okay.
So the actual number is 7% of men.
All right.
21% of women would message first, 7% of men. And to me, that made total sense because, again, in my mind, a lot of guys are swiping more often.
Yep.
And only then looking at the profile.
Right.
So what happens is when there's a match for a guy, then they look at the profile and they're like, no,
right.
Just didn't actually really want to talk to this person. And so that's why they're not sending the message.
Okay,
whereas
that makes sense.
for women, because it is more curated, like most guys, right? Or every guy that you swipe on, like you actually want to talk to that person. So either like
Maybe.
but for most women, right? If you swiped less often, you've been more selective.
Yeah.
And then at that point, if you've been more selective, then you're either hoping the guy will message you, but maybe they don't right away. And then since you kind of really like that guy, maybe you're going to be the first person that says hey. And so I think that in my mind made a lot of sense because it kind of correlates with the statistics of guys just swiping very, very often and then being selective later.
Yep.
And therefore basically ghosting a lot of people and not messaging.
Right.
Whereas women tend to be more selective and,
that makes sense.
Once the lady has made her choice, if the guy is not messaging, sometimes they'll be the 21% I said?
Yep.
21% will say, you know what?
Wow.
I'm going to message him. And I do think that the certain apps obviously do skew that a little bit. Yeah. Like Hinge obviously moves that in a very specific direction. But like Tinder is a huge percent of the market. So Hinge does skew it a little bit, but not that much by itself.
Yeah. I remember being on, I would say I liked Hinge a lot when I was on it. Not here, like back in the day. And it's funny because I did meet a guy, this is years ago, who I was with for 2 years, I'm still close with, on Tinder. And we went on one date and it was like, over, done, like just delete the app and, and we laugh about it to this day. But Yeah, I don't find that here. It depends on your area too. Like, what are the hype apps, for your area and maybe your age group too? It could be another one.
I think that's true. And I'm sure, there's different countries obviously have very different apps that are more prevalent there as well. So that'll be interesting to delve into that.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
On the European trip.
I love this. I've been looking forward to going back to Spain. So here we go.
All right. So you've already won, but we do have one last question. It's also a double, daily double.
# winning.
Mm-hmm. So we talked about sending the first message.
Yes.
And what the actual numbers are. But this is data from Tinder. And this is women and men that were surveyed about who should send the first message.
Oh.
This is kind of interesting how it relates to the previous question.
Okay.
Okay. Data from Tinder shows that only 5% of women think they should send the first message.
Okay.
Compared to that, 20% of women believe that men should send the first message.
Ooh. Okay. Wait, so say that again. 5% of women think that they should send the first message. 20% that men should.
Yeah.
Okay.
And obviously those numbers don't add up to 100 because the other option here is it doesn't matter or, right?
Right.
Like the other response could be it depends or whatever. So this is more of the strict, like, I feel like every time we have a match, the guy should send the message, or every time we have a match, the woman should send the message.
I mean, I know what I think, but what I feel, but I'm an anomaly. So I'm going to speak out for, let's say for women, let's go over.
Okay, over 5%.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And then for the men,
well, this is women believe that, what percentage of women believe that men should send the first message?
I'm going to go over.
Over 20.
Yep.
Now, this is very interesting.
That's wrong. What?
Okay.
Really?
So,
really?
Only 1.4% of women think they should send the first message. This is very interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because that's basically like the social standard is that if you match on a dating app, the guy should send the message.
Yeah, I think so. I want to be chased. I don't want to sit here and send a message. Like,
and I think
I want to be chosen, and then I want to be chased.
Makes sense, right? And actually, there's nothing wrong with saying that first message, but I think that it's very interesting that although only 1.4% of women believe that they should send the first message, in reality, they actually have 21% of women actually do send the first message, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of this discrepancy between the idea of I want to be chased and I want the man to send the first message. But why is it 21%? I'm going to guess it's because the guy didn't send the message.
Right.
And so the woman's like, well, I guess I should see what's up. And then I say, hey.
Yeah.
So, but I think that
I'm not going to chase, though. That is just not... Back in the day, and we talked about this a little before, I would be the one that if I didn't get the answer, I want the answer and I want it now. And it's like also like, I need to win and I'm going to have it, whatever.
I picked this guy, I'm getting him.
Right. And I'm going to write him. And now it's like a whole different, like, no. I want to be chosen. I want to be high on the priority list. And if I'm not, buzz off.
And that makes sense. Look, at the end of the day, there's a difference between being chosen, being chased, and then like playing unnecessary games, which also gets frustrating and nobody wants that. But
not playing games. I just want to.
Yeah. I think the data clearly shows that the societal norm is that we do expect the guys to send the first message, except on Bumble, right? Where
exactly.
And the second part of that is it is 25% of women that believe the guy should send the first message. And again, those numbers don't add up to 100 because there is this vast group of people that said, well, it depends, or sometimes I'm okay. But the reality is that it's obviously much higher percentage of women that believe that men should send the first message.
Chivalry's not dead yet, guys.
Yeah, exactly. And to the guys that are listening, send the first message. Don't expect, if you are actually interested in talking to the girl, to just send the first message. It's just as easy as that.
Exactly.
Really,
and half the apps on there have like, here, send this message. Let me suggest one for you.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know if that works.
I don't either. I'm not saying do it, but it's funny how like it'll pop up and I'm like, really? That's so weird.
I think what I've found just works well is something about the profile.
100% that works.
You know, especially if it's something you have a mutual interest in.
Yes.
That's even better. And then, you know, kind of.
And I'm going to say, when I say 100% that works, yes, because now that again, I'm an anomaly. But if you were to write me and you read my profile, I'm impressed.
Right.
But and I'm like, I want to respond, even though I haven't responded.
Even though you might never will.
I'm not now. I'm off the.
But you'll be impressed.
I was impressed. I actually was like, if I were interested, I would write back. You know, like if I were. But I'm that girl that was
That's hilarious.
The two that I chose out of the 100 anyway, I wasn't positive about them in the first place. I was just like, I'm choosing because this is all there is. Really, this is all that's in the area. Oh my God, no. And I will say I lowered my age, like not my age, but the age that I liked on there. And
I would love to know how you lowered your age.
Not my age.
What's the secret to that?
But like the people that I like found attractive, and I was like, oh, there's a whole nother slew of people out here that are way hotter. It's just but I also found that men lie big time on the apps on age. Like that blew my mind. It's
so if you're looking for like a 45-year-old, you should scale it down to 35 and above.
I did. I actually
and then
moved
you'll
it
find
down.
the 45-year-olds.
I did.
They'll be right there in the sub 40 category.
It's exactly what happened. I moved it down to 35 and I was like, oh, here's all the hotties. Like, okay. And then I'm like, okay, are they really? I mean, whatever, because there's a bunch more. But I also was like, all right, I'm done. And then I got off.
The secret strategies of navigating the filters.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That's fascinating.
It's so ridiculous how the men lie on there too. Oh my God. I wonder what those stats are of age lying.
Age lying, yeah. You know, I think that's pretty high. That's one of them I didn't find a specific one for, but I think that's probably, I mean, it happens in real life too. Yeah. You know?
I mean, but why? I can't because mine's public. Like you can just Google and it's all over. So it is what it is.
Eventually someone is going to find it out. The other thing too is I feel like it doesn't, you know, it's more about how you look, right? Like, if you are a certain age and you look younger because you're in good shape, you take care of yourself, it doesn't really matter that you're X.
Right.
Right?
True.
Like, I mean, it only becomes an issue if, I don't know, you're like 45 and some 23-year-old girl walks up to you and says, how old are you? And like, do you really want to be dating her? I mean, that's...
But funny thing you say that, because I was actually I'm writing a story right now, and going back on my life, the person that was an amazing, crazy, intense love story we were 20 some years apart. And then I'm like, oh, wow, I was 23 at the time, you know, and how crazy is that? And then I went back to the other people in my life that I've had long-term with, and then I'm like, oh, they were like 8 years younger. That's really interesting. Like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, and they're still in my life, you know, like as friends. And I'm like, that is so fascinating. So I'm like, okay, get off the age thing. It does not matter. I'm like, when has it mattered in the past? Oh, yeah. Guess it hasn't. So, because it was like in my brain recently, because I feel like everyone that I've met recently is a lot younger. And I'm like, what am I doing? It's like that movie. I can't remember what it's called, but it just came out not long ago with, oh God, what's her name? Anne Hathaway, I think it is. Is it Anne Hathaway? And like she falls in love. It's a true story.
Yeah.
And she falls in love, like they're like 20 years apart. She falls in love with this, I think it's the guy from O-Town or one of those.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it was actually
I haven't watched them,
an amazing film. I was like, oh my God, like this is so good. Yeah.
They're like traveling or something. Is it where they're
they were traveling
in
at
Morocco
some plane
or something? Or I don't know.
That's another one.
Oh, okay.
That's a good one.
Because I didn't watch that one either. But
it's so good.
It's about they meet and she meets a younger guy and kind of
that was really good.
Reinvigorates her life.
That was my
romance
film I watched 2 nights ago. That one. I forget what that one's called too. But they're both really great.
There you go.
I've been going down like sappy love story things recently, and I'm like, what am I doing? I'm torturing myself. Stop it. Like
it's research, right?
Yes, indeed. But yeah, so interesting. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed the stats of today, and thank you, sexy scientist, for diving into these. And
you're welcome,
coming up with this.
Sexy schoolgirl, getting educated by the science.
Yes. It's like, oops, I did it again. Anyway, I had to.
The Britney
yeah, so you guys write in and let us know what you guys think. And if you agree with these stats or what your thoughts are, anything you guys want to say, please feel free to write in and find us on Instagram at Pillow Talk Unplugged. And
we'll have a poll for you for Bridgetta's prize. So be sure to vote in that because she did earn it today. Whatever it may be. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.